Still, ideally, do not park on the street. That gives the plows more access. But in the areas where it's needed, we ask that you park on the one side of the street so that we can hit more of the plow, more of the street faster and safer for our snowplow drivers. So it's not to punish one side or the other. We didn't pick favorites. It's really, we want to plow more of the road. That's the goal, is, and safer.
Welcome to Herrimanology,
the official podcast to keep up with Herriman City.
We'll take you inside the city, explore the latest news and updates, show you how your government operates, and discuss the issues that affect us all. Now, here are your hosts talking all things Herriman on Herrimanology.
All right, welcome to Herrimanology. It is Thursday, January 11th, here at the Herriman City Hall. So glad to be here. It's a new age of Herrimanology. We're changing things up a little bit. We've had the audio side of this podcast for some time, but it's been infrequent. The episodes are long, and we're mixing things up a little bit. So starting now with this episode, we're gonna do this every week. We're gonna do our best to do this every week. I'm John LaFollette, communications manager for Herriman City, joined today by our mayor, Lauren Palmer. Thanks for joining.
Great to be here. I'm excited for this.
So the mayor's going to be on with us more often than not, but we'll have other city council members, sometimes staff members, come in and talk about what's going on in Herriman. Sometimes that's going to be city council meeting recaps,
right?
Which we've done videos of those before. We're going to try to combine everything all in one to make it easy for listeners. And we know that residents talk about a lot of things all the time on social media or amongst themselves or with city council members. I don't know how many emails you get a day, but it's
right. It's fun. It's not as bad as people think, but it's still fun. Yeah.
So we're gonna try to address everything there is to address. We're gonna try to keep these to about 10 minutes, and we'll see how it goes. Some of them may be longer, some may be shorter, but
we'll do our best.
Yeah, we'll do our best. So first, it started snowing. Winter has arrived finally.
Yes.
A couple of things. One, the snowplows are out.
Right.
Our amazing snowplow crews are out overnight, bless their hearts, and throughout the day, plus their normal jobs.
They are, and it's a sacrifice. I heard the crews last night were out until about 10:30, went home and got a few hours of sleep, and they were back at 3 a.m, and then they plow for a few hours, and then they go to their regular job that day. So it's, if needed. So it's a lot of work for them, and we appreciate them.
You can tell where they've been now. We have a brand new, shiny, interactive map
right.
that staff members have been working on for some time, where you can see where plows have been. If you've ever walked outside the morning after a storm thinking, did the plows even come?
Right.
The answer is probably yes, but you can make sure by going to herriman.org and finding the interactive map. It'll show you. You can go right to your neighborhood, type in your address, and it'll show you when the plow came. You can see which snowplow went.
Yes, which is another fun part of this. Yes, all the names that people submitted were so much fun. So now I've seen some battles happening on social media now about, hey, my snowplow's better than yours. So it's a lot of fun.
There's some good ones.
So
we had they were probably 100 or so submitted, maybe more than that. So whittling those down to the main nomination. There are a few recurring ones. Having everybody vote on it, that was fun. There
were a few I'm glad didn't get through. Let's just say that. So
there were some interesting ones. But those, so you'll see those hopefully within a week or two. We're still working on getting the decals, the magnets, stickers, whatever they happen to be on the truck. So before too long, you'll be able to see those on the trucks themselves. And check that interactive map. And I will mention there are some HOA areas that the city does not plow.
Right.
And those areas are shown on the map. So
they show where our city plows go, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
One more thing on snow before we move on to the city council meeting last night.
Right.
Parking.
Yes.
So we had a change this year. What was the change?
So the change came about because there are certain areas in the city where there's probably not enough parking planned. Developments that have been in for a while. And we don't need to hash that out, but there's just a lack of parking in driveways or whatever. So we tried to find a balance between those neighborhoods who really don't have enough off-street parking and those that have plenty. So we tried to find this balance. It's hard to create different policies for different areas of the city. That's just an enforcement nightmare. So we tried this policy. We followed other cities where, for example, in Daybreak, they plow every other side every other day, which can get confusing because it's, it's midnight. Is it the new day? Is it the odd day now or the even day now? So we just tried to go with one side for now, to where really the goal still is to not park on the street. That's what I think we don't talk about enough, is still ideally do not park on the street. And that gives the plows more access. But in the areas where it's needed, we ask that you park on the one side of the street so that we can hit more of the plow, more of the street faster and safer for our snowplow drivers. So it's not to punish one side or the other. We didn't pick favorites. It's really, we want to plow more of the road. That's the goal is, and safer. So several times our plows, if they come and they can't go down the street because there's cars on both sides, they just won't go down it. Mm-hmm. So this is an effort to really get to more of the city. So
So if you have any questions about that, contact your city council member, the mayor, anybody at the city. It's a new thing. In years past, you couldn't park on the street at all.
Right.
So this year, like you said, trying to strike a balance and be able to accommodate plows and parking needs.
And at the end of the season, we'll evaluate how it went, and we'll decide if this is the best. There's always unintended consequences, but we hope that this strikes a good balance. And honestly, I haven't heard much about issues since then. So we're hoping we're headed the right direction, even though it's a change.
Yeah. So. Let's go to the city council meeting from last night. There were a few items, only one major item in the general meeting. We haven't previously talked much about the work meeting, but if there are interesting items, we'll talk about them. And there were a few items from the work meeting. But let's talk first about the general meeting. The main voting item, I should say, was about amending a master development agreement for the Anthem commercial area. And Anthem is basically where Winco is on the northern side of town. So what was that about?
So that was, we have a potential applicant looking to build a hotel right there. Could be our first hotel. And so hotels needed a more height in that area. That MDA didn't allow anything over 45 feet. So we had an applicant come interested in extending that up to 65 feet. And there were some concerns raised in a planning commission meeting about certain areas. So we adjusted the recommendation to where it can only be on these two areas, these two plots that are almost right next to Mountain View Corridor, just south of Winco, and the new pet suites. So now you'll have the new Slackwater that's opening, and a new pickleball facility next to that, and then between that pickleball facility and that's the area. Those are the only two areas where we can go above that. They can go up to 65 feet now, which the potential hotel applicant is good with. So we're excited. It was unanimous, and it's a much needed amenity if we can bring that to the city. So.
Back in the work meeting, let's talk about the Columbus Adult Education Center. If you wouldn't mind giving just what that is, what it is in Herriman, and what was talked about last night in the work meeting.
Right. I'll try to be short about this because I could talk about this. This has become a passion of mine. This was a few of the schools reached out to us a few months ago and said, hey, we have a lot of immigrants, a lot of refugees coming. We need support. They're in our schools. There's a lot of non-English speaking residents coming now. And so we're trying to figure out how to support them and how to integrate them into the community. And as we started looking for options, how to do that, because there's no funding from the city, there's no support. We can't do much as a city. Right. We started reaching out to our contacts and eventually led us to this Columbus Adult Education Center, who has facilities in Salt Lake City and Ogden, and then eventually in Spanish Fork. But they immediately looked at Herriman and said, we want to be there. They don't consider themselves a refugee center. It's really a community center, but they do end up, because their main focus is English as a second language classes. That's kind of what ends up being there. But this is a community center that they will now be in the basement of Old City Hall over on 6000 West. Entirely volunteers, no dime, nothing from the city. Basically, we're just providing them the space, and then they're going to do amazing stuff. They'll do teen center with pool tables, ping pong tables, tutoring for the teenagers, and then daycare for if parents want to come and get English lessons. They bring the whole family. That's the intent, is come, bring the whole family. It's going to be life-changing for this. It'll change a lot of lives in this community, and I'm excited.
And I believe they said Herriman already is or soon will be the biggest of their locations, even as new as they are. It's a really busy spot. It's really great to see.
Yep, already 100 volunteers signed up in our community and surrounding neighbors. This will support not only Herriman but surrounding areas. So volunteers are coming from our neighboring cities, and we're appreciative. But 100 volunteers already for one center is amazing.
That is so cool.
So,
let's talk about water quality. So this was kind of I wouldn't say preliminary discussion, but it's still early in whatever process this ends up being. But what's happened so far? First off, residents, anybody who lives in Harriman knows we have really hard water here.
Right.
That'll leave spots on your shower doors, and it'll maybe cause issues for appliances in some places.
Right.
So what was the city looking into, researching? What was that discussion about?
Really, our hats off to our water department. Really brought several options for us to look at, whether it be our own treatment facility out here, some RO units out here, just every option possible to treat water that could make it more, because the water's safe. They kept emphasizing that last night. The water is safe. The TDS levels might be higher than others, which makes it harder, right? But it is safe. We still meet all the standards for water quality that way, but it is hard. So they brought all the options, and for me, it was interesting because there's, if there's a lot of water softeners, that actually has a negative effect on stuff going on too, how much we have to discharge. So there's a lot to play in here. So we just tried to find a balance between, because it's going to cost money to do this.
Yeah.
And so kind of where we went at the end was we can buy more water from Jordan Valley that will mix in with our well water. That's going to be our first step, I think, is to look at that. It does come with a cost increase, but most residents I've talked to have said, we're willing to spend another couple of months, couple of dollars a month to not have to replace appliances as often or that sort of. So that's what we're trying to take the steps. There will have to be more steps taken down the road, but a lot of those steps were $70 million steps that we just. Bonding for that is $1 million payments monthly. That's a lot. It's just, we just don't have that as a city. So we're trying to find some affordable, the best options at a good value that will also start making a dent. So we're trying. We're gonna get there, but it's going to be a process.
And before we sign off for the day, want to mention a new thing that we want to start doing. No dumb questions. An idea admittedly taken from another really popular sports podcast, but we'll try to implement it here with our local government. Government can be really confusing. Even for people who are here all the time, we always have to ask the experts what's going on, how things work, because government's just complicated.
Right.
So for everyday residents who don't know what this means or this means, please ask us. Leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or SoundCloud or any of the podcast platforms. Leave a comment, leave a question, and ask us. If you don't understand something or you want to learn about something, we'll try to dive into it. So you can email Mayor Palmer as well at mayorpalmer@harriman.org.
Yep.
communications@harriman.org. You can pick any of those ways to contact us. We'll see it wherever you leave your question, and we'll try to answer it
on these podcasts. Yep.
So,
I'm excited. This could be fun.
It could be fun. No dumb questions.
Yep.
So even if you think it's dumb, even if you think we'll think it's dumb, it's not.
Yep.
So we'll do our best.
Absolutely.
So leave a comment. Thanks for listening and watching. A new era of Herrimanology. I'm excited.
Yep. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
So
we'll see you next week.
Thank you.